now we're going to break down a school that is very, very close to Dalton's heart, literally, because he's living in Chicago as of right now. That is the Northwestern Wildcats, previewing their 2024 season. And Dalton, there wasn't a single school in college football that was a bigger surprise than Northwestern last year. They won 8-5 and won the Las Vegas Bowl, which is obviously a great year for them. Here's the thing: what do you got to know about Northwestern, though? 2 months before the season was supposed to kick off, head coach Pat Fitzgerald, who has been there for 17 years, was fired due to a hazing scandal. So all of a sudden, your defensive coordinator, David Braun, who, by the way, David Braun, who was just hired 6 months earlier at Northwestern, so he's at a brand new program, and you're like, okay, not only are you our new defensive coordinator, you're also our new head coach, even though we just hired you. So there's a lot of people who are like, oh boy, this is going to be a rough year for Northwestern. Not only that, Dalton, they had a 1-11 record the year before, which was tied for the worst in the country. So you got a brand new head coach 2 months before the season, a 1-11 record the year before, and somehow this team won 8 games for the first time in 5 years. It was, I think David Braun, honestly, Dalton, considering all that was going against him, he might have been the coach of the year last year, honestly, with how much they improved under him, with so much going against them on the field and off the field, honestly, too. 32nd highest graded defense in the country. Really, really good defense on that side of the ball. They lost a lot in terms of the secondary, which I'm sure we could talk about a little bit as well. But yeah, man, I was blown away by what Northwestern did last year. And I think the biggest strength still, Dom, is that they're going to defend the run really well. Top 30 run defense grade in the country, posting an 84.4 grade in that area. They return 8 of their 10 front 7 players who played at least 300 snaps in 2023. So that should be another strength for Northwestern in 2024. The weakness, though, and you're going to talk about in just a second, the quarterback situation is a mess right now. They currently have a battle between Mike Wright, Mississippi State transfer, Jack Lausch, and Ryan Helinski. All 3 of those guys have sub-55 passing grades in their career, while Mike Wright and Jack Lausch are below the 50 mark in their career as well. So we think right now we have some inside sources at Northwestern that we think it'll be Mike Wright, the Mississippi State transfer. So tell me about him a little bit more and what Northwestern's new quarterback could look like.
Mike Wright's been around for a while, and what we've seen at all of his stops is that he's actually a really, really good athlete. He's a 99th percentile athlete, Max, and he's got 37 explosive runs in his career. He's blazing fast. So my assumption is that if it's going to be Wright starting, they're going to build this heavily towards the run game, right? We got Cam Porter, who I'll get to in just a second, at running back, but Mike Wright in the open field, he's gone. If he gets a crease, he's gone. I'm serious. Like, he's got like wide receiver speed back there at quarterback. The issue with him is just any sort of consistency as a passer, right? He's got a 6% career turnover-worthy play rate. Ooh. That's the highest of any quarterback since 2020 with at least 500 dropbacks. So it's just, there is some serious improvement that needs to happen if Northwestern is going to put Wright out there and they're going to throw the ball a significant amount. But what he does give you, he's a credible rushing threat, man. I'm telling you, like, he's blazing fast. And if you're going to just build it where we're going to run and stop the run and be physical and kind of do a bit of what they did last year, right? They didn't throw the ball a ton last year either. I mean, you've got the school where Malik Washington left and went to Virginia and found a bunch of success. So they've been having problems throwing the ball for a long time. But Wright in the running game is a danger. And alongside him in the running game is Cam Porter, their tailback, right? 31 forced missed tackles last year, was 8th in the Big Ten. A 74 rushing grade's a solid mark. 5'10", 220 pounds, physical runner. So you've got this thunder and lightning thing of like Cam Porter's going to bring the physicality and Mike Wright can bring the speed and the big plays working off of it when defenses overcommit. And that's pretty much probably the way, if they start right, at least at quarterback, how they're going to try to score points is those 2 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the guys who's going to help stop the run on defense is their linebacker, Xander Mueller. Made significant strides last year. He improved his PFF grade by over 30 points. He had a 76.6 grade in 2023, 45.8 in 2022. Really was just a solid player everywhere at linebacker, which is what you need nowadays in linebackers to be good run defenders, good coverage players, and good pass rushers. He had 70-plus grades as a run defender, pass rusher, and in coverage last year. Tied for second in the Big Ten with 12 tackles for loss or no gain. 3 interceptions as well. Led the conference for linebackers. So Really not that athletic of a player, but he's such a high IQ guy. He's always in the right place at the right time, both in coverage and as a run defender too. So I'm a big fan of Xander Muller, man. I think he's a really, really good linebacker that we have in this Big Ten conference right now. So Dalton, obviously college football Cinderella last year was Northwestern. You're going 8-5, even though a lot of people thought they're going to be 1-11, if not worse than that, in after everything going on with them off the field. What are the expectations now for Northwestern heading into their second year under David Braun, who was the interim head coach and deservingly so got promoted to head coach?
It's weird because my first gut instinct says, okay, that's going to crash back down. Like they had the miracle year and like they still can't really score and the offense looks like it looks. But you also have a chance the way David Braun coached this defense to maybe keep that going, right? Defensively to give yourself a chance to win and run the ball and that sort of thing. It was one of the most shocking things in college football. I think the two biggest shocking breakouts for me last year were Northwestern and USF down in Tampa, going from basically the worst team in the country to beating Syracuse 45-0 in a bowl game. But
stop. Come on.
I had to. But no, I mean, I think the one thing that would concern me with this defense is some of the guys they lost in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Rod Hurd going to Notre Dame and two really good players going to West Virginia too, and Jaheim Joseph and Garnet Hollis. Like, I'm a little more worried about this secondary. Those are three really talented players they lost. Look, if they're able to run and stop the run, maybe they've got another run like this in them. I don't know about 8-5, maybe something 6 wins, somewhere in that range. But I'm still looking at this offense and going, like, where, especially from the quarterback position, is the production coming from?
Yeah, I think they actually week one. I'm really intrigued by their week one game. They play Miami of Ohio, which is going to be interesting because actually Miami of Ohio is a really good MAC team, and I think that could be a really, really interesting game. That's not a gimme, right? You look at a group of 5 team on your schedule, like, oh, we'll win that game. That's not a gimme for Northwestern at all. I think it'd be really. I think they're only favored by 3 points in that game, and honestly, I might even bet on Miami in that game. But yeah, they actually in our power rankings, Dalton, they play the 6th hardest schedule in the country this year, so it's not an easy schedule at all. They got teams like they're at Michigan, they're home against Ohio State, they are at Iowa, they got Wisconsin at home as well. They're at Washington. They got Duke in their non-con too. So it's not an easy schedule at all. They got Indiana, who we like a little bit this year as well. So not an easy schedule. I don't think it'll be 8-5, but I do think there's a chance they could make a bowl game in 2024. And I do think, you know, I mentioned how they're kind of Cinderella. Like the clock could strike midnight on them on their Cinderella run unless they get something going offensively and overcome the key departures in their secondary. Because their secondary really was a strength of this team probably last year. They lost so many of those guys to the transfer portal. So I like Northwestern, and David Braun did an unbelievable job as the interim coach. Now it's going to be interesting to see how we could do in year 2 of the David Braun era at Northwestern. That's what we've got for our preview of the Wildcats heading into 2024. Again, we are doing this preview for every single one of the 70 Power 5 teams. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single one.